So how is it we build relationships with people? What is key to it? Why is that important in mentoring? That's what we're going to be exploring in this session. The objectives of this session are that by the end of it you'll be able to explain the importance of building the relationship and creating rapport, describe how to create rapport, and identify how to maintain rapport throughout a mentoring session. Much of the success of mentoring comes from the relationship between mentor and client, so that relationship is paramount. And this is based on rapport, trust, and the environment in which the relationship is carried out. Rapport is about building respect and about being able to influence each other. It's essential in any situation where you're seeking to help someone bring about change. If there is no rapport, there is no point in attempting any mentoring process. Rapport will create the environment in which both of you feel comfortable and able to work with each other. In mentoring, this is important because it is this that allows the client to be able to be open and honest about what's happening to them and then receive the help to reach their goals. Rapport is the connection between people that means that each can respect the other's model of the world, even if they don't agree with what they're saying. Absolutely essential in mentoring. How is rapport created? Well, it's created through meeting the other person in their model of the world, sometimes known as pacing. We like people who are like us in some way, people who have something in common with us and who seem to understand where we're coming from. And when you pace someone and get into rapport with them, then you're able to ask questions, etc., to lead them more in the direction that they want to go. So we create rapport by being more like the other person, by meeting them in their model of the world. And we do this by matching or mirroring the person. Matching is being the same as the other person, whereas mirroring is the mirror image of the other person, and thought to be more deep. You can match and mirror the body language, voice, and the words that people use. We do this quite naturally with people we get on with, and when we have an attitude that allows us to make the connection with someone else. I'm sure you've all had the experience of suddenly realizing that someone you're talking to is sitting or standing in exactly the same way as you. I'm sure you've walked into a restaurant or cafe and noticed that you can immediately tell whether people are getting on well together or not by how they're sitting. However, there are times when we realize that things are not going so well between us and another person, and then it's useful to know the mechanics of rapport so that you can use that to help bring things back to a workable relationship. Things that you can match about someone's body language are posture, the way that people are sitting or standing, gestures, what they're doing with their hands, facial expressions, matching whether someone is smiling, frowning, etc., and finally dress. If you're mentoring face-to-face, then dressing in a way that will be the same way as your clients helps to build rapport. If your client comes to the mentoring session dressed in a very smart business suit and you turn up in scruffy jeans, then you start at a disadvantage and have to do much more to create rapport. In terms of the voice, you can match pitch, tempo, timbre, volume, and the tone of voice. This becomes even more important if you're doing phone mentoring. And then there are three main areas you can match when it comes to words. Firstly, matching key phrases that the client uses. Using clean language, so matching the way they describe things, the similes and metaphors they use. And finally, sharing common experiences, for example, a hobby or sport, etc. So here's an exercise for you to do on rapport. Firstly, find a partner to work with and ask your partner about something that they're interested in. And discuss the subject with them for about 2 minutes. And at some point during this time, match your partner's body language and disagree, i.e. mismatch, the verbal content of the discussion. What was the impact on your partner's behaviour? Discuss the subject for a further 2 minutes. This time mismatch the body language and match the verbal content of the discussion. For example, talk very loudly if they're talking softly. What was the impact of your behaviour? Next, discuss the subject for a further 2 minutes, and during this time, match your partner's body language and match the verbal content of the discussion. And what was the impact on your partner's behaviour this time? So what were your learnings and discoveries from doing that last exercise? Usually mismatching the body language has a greater impact on the conversation than mismatching the content. So we can disagree with someone's opinion on something, but still stay in rapport. Now let's think about gaining trust. For mentoring to be successful, then there needs to be trust between you, because of things like confidentiality, and the client will want to be comfortable that they can talk about all sorts of things that they may not talk to anyone else about. Trust enables you to create that type of safety. Write down what behaviours are important to gain someone's trust. What were your thoughts? Here are some example answers. Being open and honest on both sides is essential to an effective mentoring relationship. When that happens, then the client will know that they can bring anything to the mentoring session and get the help that they want, and that anything the mentor does is done in their best interest, even if it might be something that's quite challenging for the client. Doing what you say is a very easy way to build trust. If you say you'll send an email, then it's important you do so. If you say you'll introduce them to someone, then please do it. The work you do at the beginning of the mentoring relationship to make sure that your expectations and the person you're mentoring are on the same wavelength are so valuable in building trust. Being respectful. People have many interpretations of what respect means. But firstly, it is about respecting their opinions and views on things. That doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but to respect that they have the right to have any view they want and to express it. Also, as a mentor, it's very useful to know what your client regards as respect and to make sure you match that. Integrity means making sure you're fully skilled and qualified to mentor, and that you keep yourself updated, and that you model the behaviours that you recommend to others. These things combine to build trust in the relationship. Let's go on to think about the environment. What do you need to consider about the environment in order to build the best relationship with the person you're mentoring? Here are some example answers. It's important that the environment in which the mentoring takes place is comfortable, so the person can be relaxed and focus on the process. And added to that is having no disturbances, noise or interruptions. The place needs to be somewhere discreet and where it's easy to maintain privacy and confidentiality. You may want to give serious consideration to whether the mentoring should be in or out of normal working environment. My experience is that people are more open and relaxed out of the normal working environment. A person who's obviously unprepared and unplanned will not be able to create the environment of trust, or the idea that you are authentic in your commitment to your client. The timing of the mentoring session is worth thinking about. What is the best time for your client? It's good to use a time when they will have time to reflect on and integrate what has happened during the mentoring session. In mentoring, the time you spend building the relationship and creating rapport and trust may be the most valuable time you spend, because without that you're unlikely to be able to help the person make the changes they want and unlikely to be able to influence them towards their outcomes.